Shalom Yisrael when the staff souls by giving all praise to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostle of GMS and honors to you brothers that are doing the work in truth, war, sincerity. So I'm going to do a real quick one. This is on racist Chinese exhibit with photos of black people next to animals shut down, right? And it's one of those ones you already know, like these nations don't, don't care about Jake, this, that, and the other. And you already know, you can't go by looks alone, but this guy, looks more like a Hamite, etc., etc., etc. Doesn't mean he is, but these guys don't, they don't know the spiritual discernment of things, so they might be talking about, them guys over there in the land of Ham, right? But in that, they're thinking of, they're putting Jake into that equation, because when they're over here, man, you go try and talk to them, man, they just shuffle away, man. I don't want to talk to Jake. They hate Jake. And when you see things like that, you don't understand. When you see things like this, you understand why it is that they behave the way that they behave when they see Jake, when they're over here around Jake, right? This is Deuteronomy 28:37. It says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord Yahweh shall lead thee." Right, when you see these Greeks, man, these Greeks are simple. Oh, yeah, oh. They for the most part, the ones that are over here anyway, man, they're flavorless, just stick, do some wacky stuff. Of course, you got Jake amongst them, and those Jakes amongst them stick out. You see them rolling up around here in in London, in the central parts of London, or near the university, because they're always near university cities, right? The ones that are Jake, you can tell them out, got a bit more flavor with them, right? But these guys have no flavor, no spirit yet. They're taking a piss out of Jake. Like I said, they might be thinking of Hamas, but Esau's had it such where everything has been lumped together. If you are dark skinned, then you are all one group of people. If you're yellow, then you're all one group of people. It's just bullshit, right? It says Psalms 83:1 says, "Keep not thy silence, O God, hold not thy peace, be not still, O God, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. They have taken crafty counsel against our people, and consulted against thy hidden ones," right? So this is all of these all of these heathen nations, man. They don't like Jake. They were in accordance with bringing Jake down, right? It says, "They have said, let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance." And you look at Jake, most Jakes don't know that they're Israelites, man, and then that they must die. And yeah, you got Jakes that do know, but they don't, follow the doctrine the right way, and in that they must die, right? It says that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance, for they have consulted together with one consent. That's the point. They got together. They was like, nah, we're gonna take these Jakes down, right? It says they are confederate against thee, right? The tabernacles of Eden, right? The so-called white man, right? Notice he's the first one named, followed by the Ishmaelites, the so-called Arabs, right? Which Arab just means mixed, right? And it says of Moab, you see these Chinese, right? And the Hagarenes, Baal, Ammon, these Japanese, and Amalek, right? And it goes on and it goes on. So all these nations have had a problem with Jake. But guess what? It says Wisdom 5:1 says, "Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the face of such as have afflicted him and made no account of his labors." Right? Because this is just the just one perspective on it. These guys don't don't take into account all our labors. These times Jake worked hard for free for hundreds of years, but now Jake don't want to work for pennies anymore. Jake is now all of a sudden lazy, right? It says, "Of afflicted and made no account of his labors. When they see it, they shall be troubled with terrible fear." And what's that talking about? The salvation. When they see how shall come back with the chariots and the whirlwinds, they're gonna be terrified, right? So, and it says, "And shall be amazed at the strangeness of his salvation, so far beyond all that they look for," right? So they're gonna be seeing, so-called black men so-called Hispanics, Native Americans, and you know, all of the Israelite foreigners being beamed up into the chariots. You know, the lowly of the world. I'm going to be looking at them like, you know, what the fuck? What's going on? You know, because that only happens in Hollywood movies. Right, it says, and they repenting and groaning for anguish of spirit shall say within themselves, this was he whom we had sometimes in derision and a proverb of reproach. Right? And this is a proverb of reproach here, man. Right? This is what do you call it? It's just disrespect. But at the end of the day, these things must come to pass because we went off. Right? Verse 4 says, we fools accounted his life madness and his end to be without honor. How is he numbered among the children of the Most High, and his lot is amongst the saints? Because right now they think like them gutter rats over there in the land of Israel, the raw Jews. But when they see Jake, dark-skinned Jake, when they see Yahweh coming back looking like a so-called black man, they're going to be terrified, man. Right, this is Isaiah 29:16 says, surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. And how has Esau turned things upside down? Right, he's made himself look like the beautiful one on earth. In fact, while we're here, right, it says Numbers 12 and 10, right? And we'll read to verse 12. It says, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam was leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked upon Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. And Aaron said unto Moses, alas, my Lord, I beseech thee, lay not this sin upon us wherein we have done foolishly, and wherein we have sinned. So basically, having white skin, you know, that's biblical leprosy. When you read Leviticus the 15th chapter or 13th chapter, I forget off the top of my head, I believe it's the 15th or 13th, you're going to have to look it up, right? It basically describes having, for instance, a yellow thin hair as having leprosy. We know that today, call that today blonde haired, right? It also talks about, you know, his flesh is all turned white. That means he's a clean leper. So these white people, as long as they ain't got blonde hair, they're clean lepers, right? It says, let her not, but hear what it says in verse 12. It says, let her not be as one dead, of whom the flesh is half consumed when he cometh out of his mother's womb. Right, so having white skin, that's disgusting, according to the scriptures, man. He said, let her not be as one dead. When Esau came out of the womb, his mother called him Ishashua. Wasted away is he. Right? And you know, you got our people that look like that right now. But when you read 1 Corinthians, the 14th chapter, it says that we shall all be changed. So if they are of the elect, when we go into the school, when, you know, Lord's will make it into the chariots, them brothers are going to get their melanin back. It's the Songs of Solomon 1 and 6 says, look not upon me because I am black, because the sun hath looked upon me. Right? Let me, is this the one I want? Verse 5, Salaki, says, I am black, but comely. Right, when you read this verse here in the Hebrew, right, it's this word but here doesn't exist. It should be a wa, which is and. So it says, I am black and beautiful, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon. Right, let's get more information on this. It says in the ancient world, you had many nomadic groups of people. Saying tents is a way to group these people. I.e., the tents of Kedar means the people of Kedar, and Kedar dark-skinned Ishmaelites. Right, you see them dark-skinned Ishmaelites every now and then, man. Look darker than Jake. Look dark as all hell, man. Right, but so you know, Solomon was saying, hey, ladies, I'm black and I'm beautiful, man. Right, this is Revelation 1:13. It says, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, which is Yahweh in the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, clothed with the garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with the golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in the furnace. Right, the first question you ask, what's color of, you know, you burn something, what color does it become? And this already says it's brass. Right? So basically saying that the Lord was a so-called black man. He had white woolly hair. Who has white woolly hair? Rather, who has woolly hair? Jake had woolly hair, man. Yeah, and yeah, you got different variations. Jake will have different variations, not different variations. You got Jakes who have different variations of hair, but an afro, that's a Jake feature, man. Right, so with that, Lords, we've been edified on the session.